guys, it's Rhonda and I'm back with a Project Life process video for you today. I am working on my Project Life and I do that on a monthly basis. So right now I'm kind of trying to play catch up a little bit. I'm not too far behind, but I generally don't like to get any further behind than about 3 months. So I am focusing right now on my January 2017 layout. The kit that I use is the Hip Kit Club main kit, as I have subscribed to that since about, I think November was my first kit with that. And I love it. I've used Project Life kits in the past, not from the Hip Kit Club, but with other companies. And I just didn't love them. They didn't work for me. There wasn't enough cards. I didn't care for the cards that came with them. So in October, I decided to switch to a main kit. And I love it. I would never go back to doing anything else. So this kit came with that paper, that floral pattern paper, and I love that paper. It is one of my favorite ones in the kit. So I'm using the ephemera pack that came with the January kit, which is the Pink Paisley Moonstruck kit. And I use that pretty much exclusively for this layout. Anything that I use pretty much came from that kit, from the January hip kit. So this photo frame that I'm using is one of the Instax photo frames that came with the kit. I don't use Instax photos, but I wanted to try and make use of some of the frames that are in the kit. So I'm using this one. It's kind of a rose gold, and I love anything rose gold. And it says My Life on it. So I thought it was just kind of perfect for this card. Originally, my intent was to use this as my title card, but I wanted to use the gold thickers that came with the kit. And when I spelled out January, obviously it's not going to fit in there. It's way too big. So I decide to just go ahead and use this card as just a 4x6 filler card. And I love that I have that option. So I pulled this banner out of the ephemera pack, and to me, it was exactly what this card needed. I love the darker pop of pink that it gave it. I love the saying, it says, tell your story. And I think it's just so fitting for a January card. Obviously, it's a new year. Tell your story for the year. I just love it. This is my favorite card of the whole layout. So that card is pretty much done. So I'm going to turn my attention to my title card. This right here is why I love using a main kit as my Project Life kit. I take the papers and I cut them all down to a 4x6 size. That way I have 4x6 cards. I have papers that I can use for layering. I have cards that I can cut in half and use for 3x4 layouts. There's so many options with these, and look at how many cards I have. Like I said, I've been doing my kits this way since November, and I have yet to run out of cards. I have a bunch of cards left over at the end of the month. I can use them to embellish, I can use them to layer, I can use them months going forward. So it's so easy for me, and I just love doing it this way. So I pulled from the ephemera kit that postcard, and I also pulled that dark gray heart that has a gold embossed lace pattern on it. And I thought that it was perfect with those gold thickers. So the gold just helps to tie in the gold from the thickers a little bit. So I'm going to lay those down, but what I end up doing first is inking the edges of that postcard. And this is one of my go-tos. I think we all have go-tos that we tend to use fairly often, and distressing my papers is probably the one that I go to the most often. I love the way it pulls your eye into the card. I love that it makes it looks like a full layout rather than just a card. It kind of ties everything together. It adds separation and definition. So I tend to do that a lot. You will see me reach for my Tim Holtz Distress Inks pretty much every layout I do in some form or another. So I also have this gold butterfly. I love the butterflies in the January kit. I was never really a fan of butterflies until I used them on this kit, and I love them, which I guess is good because I did sneak a peek at my February kit, and there are butterflies in there as well. So it's a good thing I like them. So I just went ahead and used the Black Soot Tim Holtz Distress ink on that January title card, and then that card is done. Another thing that I did a little bit differently in January is the way I printed my pictures. Typically when I print my pictures, I use the Project Life app on my phone, and I either print them either all 4x6s or 3x4s. And the thing that I don't like about using a full-size 4x6 photo is that I like to embellish. I love adding embellishments, and it's very hard to do if your photo takes up the entire pocket. So I decided this month I was going to try and print only 3x4 and 4x3s. So this is a 4x3 card or photo that I took from Facebook on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I love the quote that came with that card, and I thought it was very appropriate for January. And I went ahead and just put on that feather that came with the pink paisley kit, and that Remember wood veneer die cut or wood veneer piece that also came with the kit. So I just added that. I tried to see if I want to add something else, and nothing else really fits. So I'm just going to leave that the way it is. I'm going to distress my ink or distress my page, my photo again, and then that one's pretty much done. So one thing that you'll see me do at the beginning of the video, I showed you a Becky Higgins Design G. My original intent was to use that Design G for my January layout. I started creating the 4x6 cards. There's 6 4x6 pockets in that page protector, and I started designing all of my 4x6 cards. And I quickly realized after I did probably card 5 or 6 that I'm not going to be able to use that page protector for my January title page. My album, every title page that I do for the month is done under Design A. And I have a very specific purpose in the way I set up my title page for the month. And I would have changed kind of the cohesiveness of my album by changing the page protector that I use for the title page. I can change the page protector, and I like to do that for the remainder of the pages for the month, but for the title page, I kind of have it a specific way. So I think I do about 6 cards, decide to lay them out, and then realize this isn't going to work. This isn't going to keep the integrity of my album. So I decide to switch back to the Design A, which is the 4 4x6s and the 4 3x4s. So you'll see me do that in just a few minutes. But this card that I'm working on is a picture of a couple friends and myself. We went out to and had some drinks for one of my friends' birthdays. So this is another one of my go-tos. And again, we all have our go-tos. This is what I go to when I need to fill space, but I don't quite know what to do. I love using banners. You guys will see me over and over and over make banners. So one thing about them is they have to be different sizes. And the fishtail point of the banner has to line up exactly in the middle of the fishtail points of the other one. So it's just my thing. I ink the edges because that's what I always do. You'll see me in just a minute right there move that because it wasn't exactly in the center. So it's just another one of my go-tos. And then I use that little butterfly rub-on, and I thought he was the perfect addition. I don't really know if he's a he. I just called him a he. I don't know. He's cute, but he just adds the perfect touch to that page. This is another one of my go-tos is tiny word stickers. So usually when I do a banner, I add a tiny word sticker and enamel dots. And pretty typically, I will always use a staple. My tiny attacher was out of staples, and I didn't really want to take the time to replace them, so I didn't put a staple on there, but most of the time I do. It's just what I do. So this card I was getting ready for work one morning, and I happened to check the temperature on my phone, and it was 20 below. 20 below, are you kidding me? So I wanted to make sure and document that because we really, for living in Colorado, we did not have a cold winter, which is very, very not like Colorado. So I wanted to make sure and document that because it was by far the coldest day of the year. So the papers that I'm using came from I want to say the December Hip Kit Club kit. And like I said, we didn't have a cold winter, so I never was really able to use the snowflakes or that pattern paper right there that says Burr. So I wanted to make sure that I use them on this layout because I don't know when I'm going to get to use them again. So for this year. So I just layered that on. I again distressed the edges of that Burr paper just to make it pop a little bit from the background. And then those wood veneers were also from that older hip kit. And I wanted to make sure and use those as well because I think they're just so cute. So this was the perfect card to add that to. This floral piece, again, I thought was perfect to add to this because I like the muted, they look like winter colors to me. So that soft muted pink and the muted blues and the muted grays, they just look like winter to me. And I thought it added the perfect pop of color on there. So I just kind of layered it behind the photo. And that was pretty much done. That was super easy. So then also from that older hip kit is that tag or that banner that says, "Baby, it's cold outside." And I tried to kind of fit it the way it was and it wasn't going to work. So I just trim it down. I cut off the fishtail ends of it and cut it in half so that it fits. And then I end up attaching it there. And then that card, I believe, is done as well. So super easy card to finish up. And I just love the way that turns out. What am I doing next? Oh, I've got one more card, I think, that I'm going to do. I think this is the 6th card for this layout. And this is another picture of my friends and myself. We went out for dinner, and the 3 of us don't really get to hang out very often anymore, so I wanted to make sure that this was documented in my album because it's always such a fun time when we do get to hang out. So again, I chose some cards from the paper kit, and I love that blue floral print back there, and I wanted to make sure and use that because I just love that pattern. And the gray, I think, funny because actually I don't end up using that paper. I'm going to choose this bolder print. Sorry about that. I was thinking I used that, but I think I used it on another card. I pulled out that bold floral print, and I think it's bold to use on a card by itself, but I think when you layer it on a more neutral card, it kind of breaks up some of the bold. And I've seen that pattern paper used on people's 12 by 12 layouts, and I love it. I think it is a beautiful paper. But when you limit it to a 4 by 6 size, it can sometimes overwhelm your photo. And this photo was a black and white, and so I just wanted to make sure that I broke it up just a little bit. I grabbed some ephemera again from that kit, and I forget what that little tag says, something about like life's precious moments or something. And I wanted to use that along with that pink, that pale pink rose also that was in the kit. I love this January kit because it's full of things to me that are kind of springy. And in January in Colorado, I look forward to spring. So it had butterflies and it had florals, and I just love using them because it made me think of spring. So this little tag I decide to use, I believe it's from like a Heidi Swapp planner sticker sheet. So I just use that tag and kind of tuck it in behind my picture. And then I'm going to add this little tag that says remember. And then that card is pretty much done. It was a simple card. I love the way that turns out. So here's where I decide that this layout isn't going to work for me. I have to use the Design A because I've got 3x4 photos, and this is kind of the pattern or theme that I use every month. So I usually have a filler card. I've got a selfie. I take a selfie every month. I don't know, I always have. I just like to document that. Someday someone may care, but I like to document a selfie every month. And I'm also a huge Disney fan, and I always like to incorporate some sort of Disney in my layouts. And this photo showed up in my feed on New Year's Day, so I wanted to make sure and include that because I thought it was super cute. But again, it kind of takes up the whole card, so I don't really embellish it because there's not really a lot of room to do that. So I just really leave that one plain and simple. I mount it on that black and white polka dot paper and just call it done. So then I kind of run into the same problem with this selfie photo. So I trim it down as much as I possibly can, but it doesn't leave me a ton of room for embellishing. So I think I'm going to struggle for a little bit on what to do with this photo. So I'm going to leave it there and just kind of play around with it, and I'm going to maybe work on some of the other 3x4s that I've got and then turn my attention back to that photo. So there's a photo of my dog and my son's dog. We dog sat for them when they went on a snowboarding trip. So I wanted to put that on there because they're so cute together. They don't always get along. My son's dog is very dominant and my dog is not. So they were just super cute waiting for a treat. But so I turn back to the selfie and I'm struggling with what I want to put on there. And then I find these branding strips from some of the papers in the kit. And so I decide to fishtail these two and make banners out of them. And this is kind of another thing that I like to do as well, just to kind of mix up the way that I use them. I like to layer them on top of each other. Again, I stagger them and put them on, towards the bottom near the edge. Again, I like to staple them, but it just gives it kind of a different look when it's not coming down from the top of the card. So I find this old set of Simple Stories stickers that I have. I don't even remember what kit they came from, but there's one in there that says January. And so I decide I want to use that. And then I think it's an old Gossamer Blue stamp set that I have. And there's a stamp in there that says selfie. And I've used that before. It's a little bit larger than what I typically would use, but I decide to stamp it on top of that January sticker. And it's not exactly what I wanted it to be. It kind of overlaps the January, but you can see the January through the selfie. So I end up just going ahead and using it. I layer it on top of those fishtail banners, and I don't remember if I do anything else, but I just that's going to be my selfie card. It's not my favorite, but it'll work. It'll work. It's done. And I think this is an old, I want to say it's from a Gossamer Blue kit as well. But there's just some little triangles, and I think they're in pink. So I just added a couple of those just to add something different to that. So I've got 2 of my 4 cards done. And this is where I want to use the 2017 wood veneer that came in the hip kit. So I pull that piece of paper. It's kind of a wood grain look to it. And I want to use that gold butterfly. And I think it's a pretty simple card, but I really like the way it came together. I think the colors work good together. That wood grain paper has kind of a gold look to it. I've got the gold butterfly, and then the wood veneers kind of help to bring in the wood grain look. So I really end up liking the way that this turns out, even though it is really super simple. So I just glued down those wood veneer. And I know a lot of people use their glues for this. I really find that AdTech dot glue tape works perfect for this. I've never had an issue with my wood veneer coming off because I didn't use a stronger adhesive. So this is a sticker, I believe it's from the Maggie Holmes crepe paper collection, and it just says 365 days. And it's a year. This is a brand new year. I thought it was perfect just to add on there. But again, super simple card. So I'm going to play around with these, and I do decide to go ahead and use that picture of the dogs. I had debated on switching them out, but I love that picture of the dogs. They were waiting for a treat, and they were sitting so pretty, both of them. So I wanted to make sure and put this in there because, again, they don't always get along, but they're super cute. So I'm going to add this to, there's that kind of honeycomb looking pattern with the bees on it. And I'm going to go ahead and use that, which the funny reference, nobody will get this but me, but my dog's name is Bailey, and we call him Bees. So I just thought that's just my funny nod to Bailey in the photo. So I'm going to end up pulling, I think I used that pink paper there, and I'm going to actually add 2 banners to this, and I'm not going to put them together. This is like so out of the box for me, but there were 2 kind of empty spots on this picture, one up at the top corner and one at the bottom corner. So I'm going to put that banner there, and then I'm going to put another one down there at the bottom. And I sort of forget that I want to use this butterfly, I think. So I go back and I'm playing around trying to figure out what else I want to use. And this butterfly, I have tried to use that thing so many times on this layout, and I just haven't found the right spot for it, but I will, because I love that. And I can make that little butterfly tag into a banner. So, you know, my head is spinning. So I want to use that heart. I think it's perfect. It pulls in the colors, but it's kind of floating, and I don't like that. And it's too big to fit up in the top corner. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is where I add the banner at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down, and then I'm going to put the heart on top of it. It's kind of a watercolor looking heart, but I just, again, like the way it pulls in the pinks from the card behind it. So I don't remember what I'm doing here. Of course, tiny word phrases. So I'm trying to figure out something to put on that heart, because that's another one of my go-to. When I have a heart like that, I automatically think I need to put a tiny word phrase across it. So I'm desperately looking for something to put on there, and I'm not quite sure what I come up with. I think it's a smile or something like that. I don't really remember. And then I find this, it's an old Freckled Fawn kit, and I grab the pink one that's on there. Let me grab that. Hang on, I'll tell you what that says. Gosh, sorry about that. I couldn't find it. It says "So Happy Together." Yeah. Kind of tongue-in-cheek on that one. So then I remember that I want to use that butterfly rub-on. So I go ahead and use that, and I rub that on that banner up at the top. And again, it just pulls in the pink. And I like that it's kind of see-through, so it kind of allows the pink watercolor look to show through that butterfly as well. So it looks super cute. And that stupid, what do I call it? That right there, that enamel heart, comes from a Gossamer Blue kit, and they are the worst enamel hearts I've ever used. None of them stick. They have never been sticky. They seem sticky, they stick to my fingers, but when I put them on paper, forget it. And I forgot that when I put this on here. So you'll see me, when I go to put them in the pockets, it just falls off. So now I'm just kind of playing around, making sure that I've got everything where I want it. And I'll go ahead and just pop it in the page protectors. I'll show you guys what that looks like when it's done. I really am glad that I decided to change and go back to the Design A. It just, I don't think I would have been happy if I left it as the 6 4x6s. So it just falls in line with all the other pages that I've done. So I'm glad I changed my mind. I do really like the way it turns out though. So thanks you guys for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below for me, and I will see you guys next time with another process video. Take care, you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.